Hello and welcome, John. Welcome to Environmental Coffee House. We are waiting for people to join us. I played the little video uh, of these climate marches that we're going to talk about. I myself have been on one big one, and that was in um, 2017 in DC. So, welcome, John. Hi. Hi. So tell us. Oh, it sounds just great. It sounds really, really good. I love. Yeah, sounds great. Welcome. So tell us a little about yourself, and in like however long you want to take, because it's been very interesting. Just real quick, John is in circles that I travel in online, and we've done some of the same things, but he's got a really amazing story with the activism that he's done and who he is. So, John, take it away. Oh, stop. Oh, wow. Oh, well, everybody knows I'm an old lady, so I remember it. I'm an old lady, so
I loved biology and studied the environment and became an environmentalist and an activist early on. Early days in the 1970s, I was in the anti-nuclear movement and the peace movement. Um, so one of the first cross-country walk I ever did was in 1986, was the Great Peace March for Global Nuclear Disarmament. And that was a group of about 500 or so people. It would shrink and grow. It would shrink out in the countrysides and the long stretches, and it would grow to city size, thousands of people. And that successfully marched from Los Angeles to
okay, wait.
Washington, D.C.
John, are you
Yeah,
muted? You're not muted, are
I,
you?
I,
I
I don't think
fixed it.
so.
That's weird. Oh, it's all good now.
Okay.
Okay, thank you guys. I'm very
Okay.
sorry. I forgot to unmute you
Oh,
because I did mute you and it doesn't work anyway, but it does work. It
oh,
works and it
oh.
doesn't work.
So I got
Okay,
got to start over
nope. Just keep going.
real quick.
Hey!
Okay, well, real quick, in 1986, I was part of the Great Peace March for Global Nuclear Disarmament. We walked from Los Angeles to Washington, D.C. It took 8 months. There was about 500 people on that march. Years later, like
Wow.
30 years later, 2014, I was inspired by that same march, actually, to go on a climate march because of
Right.
the climate crisis. Yeah. And that was the Great March for Climate Action. We had about a tenth of the members. We had about 50 people on average,
Uh huh.
and you have a few pictures from that. But that
Hmm.
also
I could pull them up.
inspired by the Peace March. It went from Los Angeles to Washington D.C. and it took 8 months. It modeled itself after the Peace March, and it was that was an inspiration to my friend who organized Fallon.
Okay, well, I'm pulling them up.
Yeah,
So I've got the
yeah.
one that you sent me with the blue shirt on, and everybody can see that with the blue shirt on. Uh,
Oh, a blue shirt and
with the sign "Join us and keep marching."
oh,
Climate March.
that was when okay, yeah, that's not me, but
Oh, that's
that's
okay.
Jeffrey. That's Jeffrey, and that was when our longest march met up with the largest march in New York City. So we were in Illinois at the time. Our march was actually in Illinois, and everybody decided we got to go in September. We all decided we have to go to the New York City climate march, and so we were
Okay.
the longest march meets with the largest. So that happened
Cool.
then.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go to the next one, which has everybody standing there with no fracking way, and
Yeah,
there's
that
a
was
little girl in the
finally in
yellow.
Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
That was finally in D.C. And I like that picture because it has members from the Peace March from 30 years before. Some of the people
Wow.
in that picture were rejoined with the climate marchers,
Wow.
and so we've kind of a big happy family of reunions there, which was
Awesome.
which was really sweet. I had not seen those people in those 30 years, so
Wow.
coming around full circle. And isn't that been a nice thing about Facebook too? Is
Yeah.
finding the old friends, finding the old connections, and rekindling those.
It is. And I have a lot of them.
Yeah.
My high school friend, in fact, Larry is watching right now. He's watching the show. And that's really cool when he joins us. I love it. And yes, it is. It's been an amazing medium to see all this, to see this unfold in our lifetime. Because who would have thought, John, when we were young, that we would have this ability to be doing this, like the picture phone, the future. We used to see it on cartoons and all that. My God! But anyway, I have this picture 1223 hazardous. That's the
Oh,
picture
that.
yeah. Explain that one.
Yeah, that is that's a special little story. There's tons of stories, of course, little vignettes that come out of having walked across the country. This one I took in a basement in Butler County, Pennsylvania, which is the heart of fracking territory.
Yes.
This is a VOC meter, and it is
Oh.
actually topped out on its, which is volatile organic compounds. This was placed in these friends' house in the
Really?
basement to
Oh.
measure for volatile organic compounds. It was put in there by the Pennsylvania Department of the Environment, but that one is 10 times the considered hazardous level. About 120 parts per million is considered hazardous. This is 10 times that easily, or 100 times that. And it's topped out. The scale doesn't go any further. So they have actually no idea how much VOCs was in that basement. The other thing about this is that even though it was put in there by the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Quality, they can do nothing. Their hands were tied. When it came to fracking, this household lived within 5 miles of 10 frack wells, and their daughter had leukemia.
Oh my God.
The water was so toxic, they couldn't even touch it. They couldn't shower in it. Baby couldn't shower in it. They had a 3-year-old who would break out in a severe skin rash just from the water touching her skin. That's how contaminated and poisoning fracking is.
Oh, it's horrible.
So, of course,
We're
our final
fighting-
say no fracking way.
Yeah.
It is. Super stupid mistake.
We
Absolutely the opposite of what we should have ever been doing.
Exactly. I live on Marcellus
Yeah,
Shale, and
you
they
know
like to frack me. They'd like to frack us, and
Yeah.
we fought a pipeline here in Western New York, and it's they still want to do it. So the next picture
Yeah.
is the picture where it's a wooden building, and I can't read what it says too well. I don't know.
Oh, that
That's
is
fun.
our humanure. That is our composting toilet
Oh,
system,
thought
and
it
we
had
are out
something to
there.
do with
We brought along our own composting toilet system, and there you see us actually emptying the human manure into a ditch that we dug out there on that was on some BLM land, and they allowed us to deposit our waste, so to speak,
Wow.
recycle it back into the environment. So we tried to on this march we tried to walk our talk, and that was
Yes.
to be using humanure, which is composting human waste.
Yeah, that's something I've been reading about lately. That especially in other countries, that it's starting to be something. Wow, that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
I just got myself
Yeah.
a little. I was trying to share. So the next one is Nature Bats Last, Climate Change Org. I see that picture. Climatemarch.org. Now we have to hear about this one.
Oh, well, that Nature Bats Last, that's inspired by our friend, we both know,
Yes.
a guy
Guy
McPherson, and yeah, and I had this sign out in honor of him and his channel, or his website, Nature Bats Last, and his partner had given a contribution to see our march through.
Oh,
So that helped.
That's really nice.
Well, she helped sponsor me. Yeah, she helped sponsor me, his partner.
Pauline?
So that, Pauline, yeah.
Oh, I love
She was a supporter
Pauline.
of the climate march.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
my buddy. I like her, and everybody has their little things down here in the doomosphere that happen. But I have respect for everyone, and I'm certainly not going to ever say anything negative. guy is a person that inspired so many of us to understand
Yeah.
just what the hell is going on. So, you
Yeah.
know, yep.
Yeah.
So we went
Yeah.
through the
So
pictures. So tell me a little bit about what you do now and your background. And well, we talked about your background, but who are you, John?
oh, okay. Well, let's see. I'm some guy living in kind of a hermit-like existence right now in Southern California in the high desert. And let's see. I teach online. I tutor online. I also have a home-based business in health coaching. And
Well, that's interesting.
yeah, I really like that. I'm excited by it. I'm also taking courses in permaculture. I don't know if you're familiar with Matt
Oh,
Powers and his
yeah.
courses, but there's he
Oh,
has I'm working on my advanced permaculture certificate,
oh, these are good
and I'm
things.
also yeah, and coming up with schemes to get more people involved. I think in home-based businesses, and especially in community building, in nurturing a healthy environment. Nurturing my own health.
Hmm.
Part of my story is that after the climate march, I went into depression because of the overwhelming nature of all this and not knowing what to do about it. And how do you top something like that? Walking across the country, how do you top that, right?
Wow.
So, and
2009.
last year, it's been a year now since I had a heart attack. And so, yeah, actually, this month will be the 1 year anniversary. And I was depressed. I was
Okay.
overweight. I was overeating. I was going to food for comfort. And
Oh,
this
something I
heart attack came
definitely
along,
don't
and
understand.
boom. Yeah, right. You don't. Yeah, you understand.
Oh yeah, I'm
Okay.
living it right now. I have the quarantine 19
Yeah.
right on my ass.
Well, I did something about it. A friend of mine got on the horn with me and said, "Do you want to make a plan to change this all?" And so I got on a path to do that, and deciding now to pay that forward and become a health coach. I'm actually training. It's sort of maybe it's a change of sorts in career, but um, I look at it as a full. The whole package is like we deal with our own personal health. By improving our own personal health, we can improve the health of our community and the environment. So it all
Yeah,
ties together,
awesome.
doesn't it? Yeah,
Yeah, it does tie together. I mean, when you look at the a big thing is in the Western society, especially the United States, and you look at what is sold in the stores and the garbage food, and the fact that the garbage food is cheap, and it definitely does uh, contribute to the obesity problem in the United States. And I
yeah,
have it. I've been fighting it all my life, you know. I have. And this has been horrible staying home, but I also have I can't work out like I used to. But let me ask you something on that vein.
yeah,
What
yeah.
is your secret? Or how did you lose the weight? What are you eating? Did you go vegan? That kind of thing.
No, no special diets or anything like that. I just went with a plan to work with other people, coaches. I had a coach who just called me up and helped me through changing my habits. And I just built on habits. This is called Habits of Health. Actually, you can find out more about it on habitsofhealth.com. That's
Oh,
what I
cool.
work with.
Okay.
And it's just about changing those daily habits. And the first one we worked on was weight and how many times a day I eat and what I was eating. And so they have a
Okay.
plan for that. I won't go into that too much here because I don't want to sound like advertising.
Well, it's
but
interesting stuff,
um,
so it's not
but the idea,
advertising.
yes, it's interesting. It's an interesting approach, and what I really like about it is about building a community. So getting support. A lot of times, what we're missing, I think, in the diets and so forth, is an actual support community. People are actually by your side, who've been through it and are and doing it with you and still growing.
Well, I'm
So it's all
definitely going to
about
check it out.
improving over time, being a work in progress, right? Aren't we all just a work in progress?
I've been a work in progress for years. Yeah, everybody knows.
Years.
I am in my
Well, friend,
sixth decade, the very beginning of my sixth decade.
Well, we're
So,
friends on Facebook. I'll be
yep,
happy to
that's
talk to you
great.
about that and help you out.
Yeah, yeah, this is
And anybody
awesome.
else out there wants to find me, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter a little bit of the time. I'm doing Twitter a whole lot less. I think that's pretty ineffective
Oh, I talked
stuff,
about that
right?
yesterday, how Twitter is addicting. It's like a drug. You get on
Yeah,
it and you just can't get off. And it's what Twitter is doing for me is it's misdirecting me. It's not helping
yeah.
me with what I really want to accomplish. So I have to shut it off. Like I just can't use it.
There you go.
But there's so many other
That was a good
venues.
habit to break right there. That
Yeah,
was a
well,
good
I'm
habit to break.
no, I haven't broken it all the way. I haven't broken it all the
Not
way.
all the
But
way. Yeah.
oh, we have so many good people with us.
Controlled doses.
Yeah, controlled doses. Well, that's the thing. I think I have an impulse control disorder on basically everything. I called it the wheel of neurosis. Where is it going to
You
land
and me
now?
both. Oh, the wheel of neurosis.
Yeah, I made that up when I have an undergrad in
I
psych,
love
so
it.
yeah, it was like okay, a lot of females feel this way, but maybe men, and that you spin the wheel, where is it going to land? Is it going to be overeating, smoking pot, drinking, all the things that people do to access? Now it's you got to add in computers.
Yeah.
The different platforms. Really, I could really redo my wheel of neurosis, and then it started out as a comedy, really, but it's true.
Isn't it? And then
Yeah,
with everything else going on, yeah, I can see where, we go to those escapes, right? We
right.
we kind of turn to like, how do we feel better about ourselves when there's so much of this going on now with COVID and the climate crisis, kind of hand in hand, right?
It
How do you
isn't
not be
easy.
overwhelmed by it all,
Well,
and still
this
function,
helps.
right?
This helps
So,
me not be overwhelmed because we have made this
yeah,
community on Facebook and
exactly.
on YouTube so that uh, we can communicate. There's so many people here. There's Jean and Copy Cooney and Mark Roche and Warren. Oh, Warren has a question real quick. He wants to
Yeah.
know if you know Nelda Trent from LA through your anti-nuke work, and if you've attended When Stones Cry Out Nevada annual protests to the
No,
anti-nuke.
no, I know about the Nevada test site. Is that along the same lines?
Well, it's called When Stones Cry Out, so I guess we can look that one up another time, John. That's something we'll learn
Yeah,
today.
turns out, yeah,
Thanks,
gosh, there's
Warren.
so much going on.
Thanks,
Yeah, thank you.
Warren. And I did look at
Will
it,
do.
so that's cool. Um, and
I love the networking.
yeah,
It's like what we're doing here on YouTube and on Facebook and networking. And I still, we were talking about Facebook earlier in our community, right? And I got in touch with these people I hadn't seen in 30 years since that um, Peace March, and it was just like seeing
wow,
them all, like, gosh, hardly ever
wow.
changed. Things are hardly ever changed. So
No,
we still
and
got a long ways to go, of course, but I'm hopeful that, this community is going to help us, our community building, and we can change and adapt pretty quickly. So
you
save what's
think?
left,
Because
you
yeah,
know?
what's left? Because
Yeah,
we already had Trent add to the conversation, and
yes.
it was a hard one. Trent said, "Well, Sandra, Amy, um, the rest of you are dead." Did I say dead? Probably this year, according to Guy McPherson. Heat records are dropping like flies. Drinking water's drying up. Um, it's scary. That's Trent, but we always want to keep going. We always want to keep going, and that's why you're here to tell us about the things that are out there now to keep going and doing and finding your passion.
Yeah, good one. Excellent. You just said it right there. What can I add?
You can add a lot.
There's yeah, well, let's see, a couple of the things that I've liked really, and I'm looking forward to, is the restoration ecology peace camps. I'm going to drop a
Yeah.
name here, John D. Liu, Liu, John D. Liu. First came across his videos on YouTube, and
Mhm.
it's called "What If We Change?" And he introduced this concept of restoration camps, and they actually have a few of them. They're starting to open up worldwide. They had one up in Paradise, California, where they
I've
were
got the
replanting
website up.
trees. And you've got the website up.
Yep,
Okay, do you want
everybody
to,
can
yeah,
see it.
share that?
Together we
Okay,
are
good.
restoring the earth, and
Yeah,
we started the ecosystem restoration camps movement to enable people like you to have a direct
Yeah.
impact. I like this. So why don't you talk a little bit about it?
Well, since my background was in biology, ecology, I figured might as well work on our strengths, and what can help draw down carbon, what can actually bring it down from the atmosphere, and what can survive, what has the best chance, let's say, what has the best chance of surviving or thriving or getting through the climate crisis, and that is intact ecosystems. With diversity, one of the sayings we have in ecology is diversity is stability. So if you can instill a diverse environment, and that goes right to the garden, in fact, with a concept called permaculture, you're familiar with,
Oh, I would
becoming
like to
familiar with
permaculture my
permaculture.
whole place, but
Yeah, it's
it's
basically
hard.
how can we model ecology? How can we model and be more like an ecosystem and work within and live within our ecosystems, right?
I get it.
And
Yeah.
so permaculture is one of those answers. It's a broad term. You're going to find so many definitions for it. Like everyone you talk to has a different definition. That's kind of the beauty of it, though. It's versatile. It's diversity, and I think an answer, not the answer. There's no such thing as the answer, the silver bullet. And I walked across the country to find out if there was the answer, but there isn't. It's all pieced together what we can. But intact, diverse ecosystems can weather, so to speak, weather extremes.
Wow. So can you just
Yeah,
backtrack a little bit and tell us
yeah.
what it was like to walk across the United States?
Oh, God,
What was that
tiring,
like?
hard. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was. Yeah, lots. You learn a lot. People, what you find out is like you find out the news that's not being told. For example, that little monitor I had of the what was going on really with fracking, in the VOCs, and we're meeting all kinds of people like that all the way across the country, finding out what their concerns are, and that local concerns were just as much part of our climate concern, which seemed like a big, kind of how do we touch that?
Right?
Do we put that on other people's worry plate? Oh, here's another thing to worry about,
Worry
right?
plate. Yeah, I have a big one.
Yeah, the worry plate. Yeah,
Oh,
how do you keep that worry plate from filling up too much?
oh my
So
God.
our marchers, what we did early on was we would tie in a lot with whatever was going on in the community. So we started out in Wilmington, California, which it was going to be the site of an expansion to 700 acres of refineries and ports of entry for the huge shipping tankers that come in. And Wilmington had the worst air quality in Southern California. It has the worst air quality because of those tankers, those big diesel tankers.
Wow.
And you have the what's that called? That smog layer in inversion layer, right near the
Inversion layer?
coast, where the pollution, yeah, the
Oh,
inversion
yeah,
layer
it just
holds the pollution down,
hangs.
right?
Just
Yeah,
hangs
yeah,
there. Yes.
yeah. So we started out in that community,
Mm-hmm.
um, and there was kids that came out and joined. I got to find that picture, but thousands of people came out to walk the first couple of miles with us, and what was that like? That was also the day that it rained for like the first time in 3 years in Los Angeles. So we were met with a torrent
Wow.
of water. The marchers were walking in water up to their knees, and this filthy,
Oh my
polluted water was
God.
going through, and we had a long march that day to get to our very first encampment. So
Oh my
what
God.
a way to start.
Yeah, nobody was probably prepared for that kind of water to be touching your skin at that time.
Oh
Oh.
yeah, yeah, and here we had to, march the next day and the next day, and then people were getting rashes already
Oh,
from
wow.
that. Yeah, but it
Wow.
was a good thing we didn't spend a bunch of money on publicity or anything because that the news was just totally vamped over by the fact that it rained.
Yeah, the fact that it rained.
So
Yeah, when it rains in California, it's a big deal unless it rains so much
yeah,
that it causes mudslides after a drought. I mean, that seems
right.
to be what happens, right?
Oh yeah, I live in that part of the country now too.
Yeah.
fire prone and maybe mudslide
Oh,
prone.
really? Holy
Yeah, who
crap.
knows?
Do you
Well,
feel,
yeah, SoCal,
yeah, do you
huh?
feel the fear? Do you feel a little fear or nervous or apprehensive about your community burning up? Oh my God.
I'm more apprehensive about the denial of COVID right now. I live
Oh,
in Trump country out here,
yeah, me
and
too.
that's kind of scary. Yeah, you know about Trump country, so we
I
got the
live in it.
people who are like kind of defiantly not wearing masks and not even taking precautions because they got this thing going on. This babyish notion of it's a government,
I
my
say that.
freedoms,
It's the government
right,
when
right,
I'm
my
opening my,
freedoms.
that's on Twitter I do it. I fight with people. That's a bad
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Maybe I get my aggression out on Twitter because I don't know where else to get it out. Am I going to yell at my 5 cats? My husband.
There you go. That's about the only good that does. Yeah, rant on Twitter, but
Right?
it's not over, right? Right.
So John, how long did it
Yes.
actually take to do this? How long did it actually
The
take?
cross country marches
Mm-hmm.
took 8 months. March 1st to November 1st. Yeah.
Gosh,
8 months
eight
of our lives. And it was
months.
24/7 activism,
Wow.
living, breathing, and something new every single day. A new place to be, a new camp to go to. Lost my
Night.
teeth along the way.
And that was when? That was a long time ago.
I lost, it was a partial, and I lost
Yeah.
it somewhere out in the Mojave Desert.
Oh God. Well, as
I haven't
long as you
replaced it
can
since.
eat. Oh, who cares? Yeah, as long as it's
Hey,
not
some
a.
coyote is out there. I joke, some coyote is out there wearing my smile. He picked it up the denture.
I like that. That's cute. That's nice. Oh my gosh. Well, 8 months. I don't know anybody else who has ever done anything like that. So it's a big thing, and it probably then really affected you for the rest of what's till now. I mean, it's probably
Yeah,
just been your
yeah.
defining. That's a defining
That's a defining moment,
activity
isn't it?
moment,
Yeah,
a
there we go.
defining 8 months, a defining lifetime. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then,
We were we walked away from our lives to walk for our lives.
and we're still walking for our lives and nothing's happening.
Yes.
I don't want,
There's no real leaving it. There was no real leaving it in a way. We march onwards, just figuratively now.
yes, figuratively. And those of us that are getting up there that have done it all before, the torch is now, you see it. The same kids that are marching all over the country for this George Floyd and for against police brutality are also the same kids that go to the climate marches because these are the awake kids that and I say kids because they are my own daughter, I mean, these are our children, it's their future, they understand the mess we're in, John, they get it, and they're getting tear gassed for it.
Yeah, it's all interconnected, isn't it? It's something is coming to a head, that's for sure.
Have you ever
And
been
we either
involved?
got the way of going. I think we either got the way of going great change for
Mm-hmm.
good, and that is really rolling our sleeves up and getting to work on things like from everything from our victory home gardens to
Yeah.
activism, everything and anything you can do. It's like, to me, it's been the spaghetti against the wall approach. Just, you take this strand of that and you just throw the whole schmear against the wall and hope something sticks. So all this spaghetti is, you throw it against the wall, it's just starting to drip down. But there's a few strands that stuck. Maybe it was this march, maybe it was that day on the march somewhere, maybe it was the letter or the phone call you make. You just never know. It's almost like going on a faith type of thing. For
One
people who
thing.
say, well, what good did it all do? Right? I think we did a lot of good. So don't
Well,
beat yourself up,
well,
that
I
we haven't
think we did.
accomplished all the goals,
Yeah,
right?
actually, the
Yeah.
goals. Even though there's the continuum of okay, we're fucked tomorrow, or sorry, using the word, or we have a little more time, like because Trent is very he's prognosticating. I mean, he's saying we're done, but today we're not, and we woke up.
Yeah.
And anything that you can grasp on to do, and enjoy your life at the same time. And I happen to enjoy, I like activism, and I liked being involved in all kinds of things like that. And, while I was able to like stand up and walk that much, um, to do it, but I never tell people no. I've got a question for you, since you're very active and your mind is always going. What'd you think of the movie Planet of the Humans?
I didn't watch it yet. I've seen all the
Oh, okay.
reviews.
All right. Well, I know that I didn't download it. I wish I did. All right. Well, we won't go
I
there.
will have to check it out.
You
I
have
read
to
the
check it
reviews,
out.
so yeah,
Yeah,
I do.
but you
I
have to.
do. You're right.
Jennifer and I did our thing on it, but you do, because it is a pivotal film, and
Yeah.
of course the two sides, there's it pits one against the other when it really should be absorbed and say, hey, maybe if we're we're doing all these things, there's still, it's not so green to be mining and lithium ion batteries and all that. We
Oh
have to
yeah,
look at
yeah.
all this. We have to look at the fact that these wind farms, what happens to the windmills. But I don't say stop. I say, well, we're just humans. I always say this: humans are going to do what humans are going to do. Technology, you're a science background guy, it's not going to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Who has the torch now? Well, tell
Well,
me
we
what
all
the
got to carry a
scientists.
torch. Or young
Yeah,
people that definitely have a
yeah.
torch
But like for you,
to
like,
bear.
do you have any
Oh,
pivotal scientists, people you follow that give you nurturing need, in the science
oh,
community?
okay.
Tell me a
Yeah,
bit
yeah,
about
yeah,
that.
yeah. Well, let's see. I mentioned some people I know. So there's Matt Powers and the permaculture courses that he's putting out.
Mm-hmm.
That's international. He's actually being translated into several languages, and they're following a permaculture uh, entrepreneur course he's got going now. So that's all very interesting. There's the ecologist John D. Liu, who I'm inspired by, and that's for restoring ecosystems. So that the way I look at it is, even if we humans are done for, what can we still do with the energy we have left to keep something going through? So, for example, tree species, they right now, there's another friend of mine. She's working on tree migration, assisted migration, it's called. I don't know if you ever heard of that term, assisted migration,
Yes.
because well, you know how the USDA, the planting zones are moving northward. Okay, all the climate zones are moving northward. Well, that's faster than the trees can keep up through natural replanting means. Plus, they cannot cross the highways and all the
Mm-hmm.
infrastructure we have in their way, right? So, assisted migration for for plants and trees is to find areas that, um, say, endangered species of trees could weather and survive climate change. And so, so even if humans are done, I'm going to say, why not? Let's just be altruistic for whatever species we
Yes.
can help through, right?
That's a beautiful sentiment. That's how I feel.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, if you roll over and play dead, you will be dead. Why
yeah,
hasten it
yeah.
when
That's a
there's,
big one to
oh,
learn, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, see, and I like that. I really do. We've got Hoople's cat with us, and he is an amazing person. He's got a channel. He's an RN. He's a prepper. He's in actually the prepper community. He said forests up here in Canada are planting southern species now, southern
yeah,
species, so that they can adapt because of, people, you can't see it, but behind me, my green screen is a map of the heat. It's above average and it shows. So this is
yeah,
really it's affecting everything, flora, fauna, everything. And did you hear this week? There was an article about how in the oceans, the ocean life is moving towards the poles. They're doing it by themselves. They're moving to the poles. I mean, how many? Because of the heat.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And their problem is going to be, are they going to be able to find adequate food there? They're going to move there and then be starving. That's hard to say. Um, permaculture answer to that, though, is to do some increased near shore aqua farming, replanting kelp beds, and do some drawdown of carbon using using plants and farming. You've heard of
Yeah.
those? Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely. I think we'd like to hear a little bit more about your your interests. Can you talk a little bit more about the permaculture for those of us that maybe know about it, understand, but don't really have the total grasp on how to start yourself?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a good one. How do you start yourself on permaculture? Well, all I've done is I just read everything I can on it, or download just about every YouTube video I can on it,
Wow.
and then on download everything you can on gardening, and then you're doing a mesh of the two. Permaculture is basically, I mean, my approach is I just look at it, it's a way of gardening and being that is more ecological, you know, following ecosystem logic, following what a forest does, and then you could plant things like, so some terms to look up or just even do a search on are things like food forests. Permaculture is another good term.
Food forests.
Agroforestry, right?
I love
Agroforestry.
food forests.
Yeah, food forests.
Yeah.
Imagine, like you just, your supermarket is right outside your door. You walk out and your food is hanging there from the trees. I mean,
I think we're
why not?
trying. We're trying a little bit, but we have so far to go. It's hard, We only planted one apple tree last year, but we have a humongous garden. If you watch my video that I made Wednesday, I walked around the whole property and showed everything.
Oh,
Um,
this I
it's
gotta see.
yeah, it's quite a job, which I don't. My husband does most. I do the like planting, and I do all the prep after everything is grown. But he gets out there and really like knocks himself out. He's hurt today too. He doesn't feel well. He stayed home from work.
Oh, yeah. Well, one idea there is to try to make it with as little effort as possible. Really have nature working with you for you. So, what area? You're out in
I'm in
what area
Western
of the
New
country?
York in the southern tier. I am actually on 100 miles or less from uh, uh, Pennsylvania. So fracking, and
Oh,
so
okay.
being that we're on the Marcellus Shale,
Yeah.
we're being protected by a governor who has a moratorium on fracking here. But if the Republicans get in, they want to frack my area right where I live. They want to frack Allegheny County, New York, and that ain't going to
Yeah.
happen. I'll lay
Yeah.
down and let the machine roll over me. I'm not letting it
Good
happen.
for you. Yeah.
We had a big pipeline, the Northern Access Pipeline fight here, and we won. And
Yeah.
and of course they're trying it again, but they wanted to go from Pennsylvania all the way through our county, all the way up underneath the Niagara River, which is an incredibly rushing river. I mean, it's the current is insane. It empties up out. It's from Niagara Falls from one side, and it empties out into Lake Erie on the other side. And I think it's crazy to put that kind of pipeline. It's like having that line. What is it? Line 3? Is it 3? The activists are run against it in Michigan. Is it Michigan? Yeah, I think it's Michigan. And all these under the lakes, under the Great Lakes, is the most insane place to have a pipeline. One leak.
Yeah.
These are the greatest. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's it.
You're not
It
kidding.
empties into Erie. It empties Erie into Ontario. Right. Sorry, Hoople's nose. I know too. I just
Well,
yeah.
this is a good time to crush it because right now, I mean, the whole oil industry is suffering, so to speak, rightly so. But people aren't buying their gas and aren't buying their frack. So, they're pushing this from their political view is to lock it in, lock in another 20 years
Yeah.
of whatever production that is, and
Yeah.
for those oil and those profits, it's a big subsidy. So, but it's our kids and our livers and our air that we're using to subsidize these guys. And that's got to just be, we got to get beyond and past that.
Yeah. Well,
We don't
how?
need it. We don't need their frack. We just don't need their frack. And maybe that's how we
How?
can show them.
You're fighting
How?
capitalism. You're fighting the
Yeah.
establishment, the neoliberals, the neocons. I mean, it's a political fight, and it is insane. It's insane. I mean,
Yeah.
are you with me? You listen to Tom Hartman like I do. I'm sure you've been on
Yeah.
Nicole
Yeah.
Sandler's
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
We follow a lot of the same shows politically, and so well, how do you feel about what's happening in our government? You know, you had mentioned to me about Paris and the climate agreement, and let's
Yeah.
hear a little about your thoughts there, being a lifelong
Uh,
activist like you are.
yeah. I try to, just for my own health, my own mental health, I tune out Trump. I try not to give him any more power,
Yeah.
because a lot of this is an assumption of power. It's a lot of just grandstanding, and he puts the word out, and their tactic is to put the things out like it's a done deal, and then they push through that. And the problem is people believing that,
Mm-hmm.
and lending power to that, like, oh, we lost everything. Oh, he's just going to do this to us. He's not. It's not a done deal. We still have more power than we can ever imagine. If I learned anything from walking across the country twice, it's that we have more power than we can imagine, and we have more effect on things than we'll probably ever see. Um, but you have to empower yourself and your community. So how do we respond? Well, like for example, where I live, it's like I can't really talk politics with people. Kind of like that just shuts them off. So what can I talk to them
Right.
about? I
Yes.
can talk to them about their health. I can talk to them about their gardens. Those are things that are apolitical, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yet
They
so
should
close
be.
to home. They are so close to home, they would actually make a difference in the impact. If you can encourage more people, we're trying to encourage people to stay home now, right? That means less traffic. That means less rush around, and take a step back. If anything, with what's going on, is we have a chance to now kind of sit back and just take a breather, look around, reevaluate our lives, right? Reevaluate what's important.
Yeah.
There's nothing like an epidemic or a pandemic that really does that. It sets everybody back on their heels, doesn't it?
Jean says, I agree. Jean is from Costa Rica. We get a worldwide audience, which I
Yeah, it's
absolutely love.
awesome.
And that's another thing. I would never be able to talk to people like this from all these different places without the internet. It's just it brings in the world right into my little piece of heaven where I live.
Yeah.
She said, I agree. A lot of Trump's threats are just show, but it affects our mental well being anyway. Sure, it does. It's a gaslighting constantly, every day. We're being gaslit every day.
So yeah, I would say that's why I avoid it. That's why I just turn them off. Don't give them that. Don't let them have any part of my well-being. You know.
Yeah,
I mean, come on. I
Jeremy's
had a heart
leaving.
attack last year. I don't need
Yeah,
I don't need the blood pressure and everything like that. And what good does it
no.
do? So, save my energies now for the immediate and what's around it. What can we affect in our own backyard? That's been my focus lately.
That's
And then,
how I feel. Local,
yeah,
local, local. Because
local,
that's
local,
when it
local.
trickles up. Local. Um,
There you
Can
go.
tell, another thing? I know this is shifting around, but what's really interesting is what you do, the kids you teach, and what you teach
Oh
online.
yeah,
Let's hear
yeah.
about this.
Oh well, you see my classroom back here, right?
Yeah, you're a
So I
little,
have my I have my little town, and that's a reward system. I teach
you've got it
online.
on, you've got it all fuzzy back there. It's on, you're
Oh, it's
blurring.
on a okay. So
Blur.
there's
Okay,
like a
tell us.
little playhouse. It's my nieces and nephews' toys. It's my
Okay.
background. I have an Einstein robot. He is he's a character that appears in some of my classrooms. Anyways, I teach English to students in China. I teach English to students in China.
Wow.
Part of those one of those gigs. You try to piece together things like that, little gigs that help bring in the income. And
That's
but I love
nice.
doing that. It's weird hours. I get up very early in the morning, and then I go online with a platform, one of the many platforms out there for teaching, and I teach English to little 5 to 12-year-olds in China.
Wow.
So that's really sweet. It's a nice
Wow.
way to start the day.
Yeah. So
It's
during the
and it's peace.
pandemic,
Yeah,
it is even more important what you're doing because they
yeah.
had the. I mean, it started there, and so the opportunity for these kids to learn English like this is pretty cool.
Yo, you know
I
what?
like it.
What's kind of a cool
You're such a
tie-in is
giver.
Thank you.
Such a good
I
one.
have some students in Wuhan, so this is an interesting bit. Um,
Oh.
Last year I'd have these students in Wuhan, and they would have colds and coughs and sniffles all the time. It wasn't from
Oh.
COVID; it was from the air pollution.
Yes.
Okay. Now
Very polluted.
here's an ironic thing. The air pollution, of course, is a risk factor to the COVID, correct? And so when they shut down and shut everything in, the pollution dropped because the factories were shut down. Suddenly their air cleared up, their breathing cleared up. So these kids were actually enjoying, ironically,
Oh.
this respiratory illness was attacking the industry that was causing or exacerbating their illness. And so for the first time they were experiencing clean air. And so you got to wonder what is the ramifications of that, because now they got it in their head, oh, this is what clean air is like.
And we want
Why go?
it.
Right, we want it.
Rise up
So
in
are they going to
China.
go to their parent? Right? Yeah, rise up in China.
Ugh. Yeah, I
Don't
know.
say I said that.
No, I
but
said it. My,
but
my
you
my
know,
family has people. Well, my stepbrother is married to a Chinese woman, and my nephew and my family
yeah,
went. I didn't go. My family went to China to a rural area for the wedding a couple years ago. My mom and dad and everybody went. And so it's they're living here now, but it's. I think they would like to see something change there, of course.
yeah, yeah. And
Who
they got
wouldn't?
their ways to do it. Yeah, I can't advise anybody in China, of
No,
course.
of course not. And I
And of
wouldn't want to see
course not.
them become like the United States either.
No,
No,
no, no, no.
nobody wants to
But
be
they got
like the
their own
United
ways of
States
bringing on
anymore.
pressure and things like that, and that can trickle from the bottom up, just in their own ways. But I thought it's just one of those ironies, of this whole thing, right? Like the being put back on our heels to reevaluate, and that's what COVID has done for us. If there's going to be a silver or gray lining to this cloud, um, that would be part of it. What lessons does it have for us?
But
You
the
know,
lessons, are we going to go back? Is China going to go back to the way they were? Is the United States going to? I mean, can we ever go back to pre-COVID craziness? They
right,
want to.
right.
The
Oh yeah.
neoliberals, the capitalists, they all want to. The stock market never stopped.
Ah, well, it slowed it down. It shut it down for a day
Yeah, a day. A day.
or
I
so.
mean, that's what gets touted as the almighty stock market, which really means
Oh yeah,
jack shit
yeah.
to most of us, except those of us
Right.
that were lucky enough to have a 401k or a 503b or a pension, which is another thing being taken away.
Yeah, yeah,
Human says
yeah, yeah.
corporations never die. They can wait for the protesters to die off and frack another year.
Frack another year.
Frack
Oh, who
another
is that?
year.
Wait a minute. That
It's
was
human. You see
oh,
human.
human. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I see
Humans on
human on there
everywhere.
quite a bit.
Humans
Hi,
on
human.
everywhere. Hi,
Love you.
human. I put it up.
Cool.
Yeah, humans
I like the
everywhere.
name.
Yep, yep. Um,
He's right.
yeah.
But there's other kinds of corporations too, and maybe this is what we
Okay.
want to change. We won't get rid of the corporation, but there's such a thing, and I think this is growing in recognition as the triple bottom line. You've heard of that triple bottom line, correct?
The triple bottom line.
The triple bottom line is not just profit, but there's also you work your company and your association, your corporation into the community trust. So there's the triple bottom line is not just profit, but also the environment and your community. How is the health of your employees? Where do you rate that on your bottom line? How is the health of your environment? That is part of your bottom line. That is part of your obligation to the rest of society as a corporation that is benefiting, of course, from the taxes. You know, that is so up for grabs right now. That changed that whole mindset, isn't it?
The whole
You know,
paradigm.
yeah, the whole paradigm. I mean, talk about a time for universal basic income.
Yeah.
There's the good we could go towards, right? Versus the fascism. Ideas whose time has come.
Federal job
So keep
guarantee, which is
pushing, keep
something
on
that,
pushing.
yeah, something that could happen.
Just
That.
never give up.
Do you follow
It'll be like a surprise to us. It'll be like a surprise to us, Sandy. It'll be like, wow, I didn't know we could actually win that. There'll be things we'll win, and we just don't believe it.
Well, okay, let's delve into that just a little bit. We just don't believe it. Why
Yeah.
and how can we change that? That's a
Ah,
that's a big one.
community and
Okay.
support, like we're doing,
Right here.
like
Yeah.
we're seeing
Like
right here. A big part of it, and just encouraging each other, build each other up, empower each other, and don't let the news cycle get to you. It's okay to turn that stuff off. You don't owe it anything, and especially you do not owe it your well-being, So Twitter, like I used to feel obligated. Oh, I owe it to all my followers on Twitter. I got to do this and this. And that's just insanity. That's where they want you to be, you know.
I know. I know.
So
I know. Mm.
you change what you can. So okay, so you've cut back on your Twitter. I still go on every once in a while, but now it's for like subversiveness. Just and I set
Well,
the
that's
timer,
kind of
but I
what I
want to
did.
subvert and invite people off of Twitter. Go to an alternative thing like Mastodon, for example. That's one I'm checking out now. Maybe you know of
Mastodon.
others. Mastodon,
No.
yeah, have you heard
Oh,
of
there
that?
are. There's
Yeah.
Rockfin, there's Mastodon that you just said. There was a lot of them actually, these social media platforms, but they have so much trouble because of competition and because of our
Oh,
laws against the big ones. Facebook,
yeah.
Google, and YouTube.
Well,
It's
they're
difficult.
just tools. They're just tools, and
Yeah.
you keep it small, keep it simple. Then I say, have a small group. You have a good small community right here of people that follow
Yeah.
your channel. So
Yeah, it is. It's
that's
great.
yeah.
Well, we're going on an hour, and I'd like to
Okay.
know if anybody has any questions. I would love to do this again. I mean, I think there's so much more. This was like scratching the surface of so many different things. I didn't even pull up the Project Drawdown. I did for a minute, but we didn't really talk
Oh,
about the
okay. Yeah.
Project Drawdown. So
I'm learning about that one too. I mean, that's
good.
like, yeah. I'm
Well, the
one of
next
these.
time,
I like to gather information. Sometimes I gather too much, and then don't know what to act on. Right?
that's
I'm a
that's
gatherer.
Yep, I am a
Yep.
gatherer
You know it.
also, but then I just turn them into a show. I turn them
Yeah.
into an educational opportunity
I,
somehow,
I love it. I
somehow.
really like your
So
show. I
anybody,
really like your
well,
show, Sandy.
thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
We're very small, and I
Thank you
don't,
so much.
ask for money or anything, and we don't get out. I think it's sometimes YouTube is, I think,
Well, I
squelches
hope you
us.
get some. I
We
hope
have
you get some.
14.
I hope you
Well,
guys out there are sending Sandy some money.
no, 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 I don't ask.
Oh,
Not
okay.
now. If
I'll
we
ask
do
for you. Send her
anything,
money.
no, I haven't done that. If we're going to do anything,
Okay, you're
we
good.
might sell the coffee cups and t-shirts, and that's capitalist, but we might do it because our graphics are beautiful. Mindy Dunham did the graphics, and I really need to keep the internet going here, and that's a problem. In a rural area, they charge us a lot of money. They
Yeah.
just okay. So, Susan says bring John back. I absolutely will. This was
Thank you.
fun. I think that we could find a lot more, and as you learn more things about these projects, you could bring that to us.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
your
happy to.
graphics are great, and your mic is great, and you sound great. Other than me
Oh,
screwing it up in the very beginning with forgetting. See, I told you I should have muted it. I forgot to unmute you in the beginning, so you were like this.
that's okay.
And
We're all
no,
in a learning curve, aren't we?
and
It's a new
yeah,
learning curve, isn't it?
oh, all the time I'm learning on this thing. Greg says, thanks for making the
That's our
day
turn.
start
That's
good. Aw. Yeah,
that's our
socializing
torch.
internet is a must. That's Gene. Oh, CB wants to know if you have a channel.
No. Well, I curated a bit of channel. What I did was I collected videos from the two marches. So I do have a channel, Climate Marcher John Jay. It's the same name on Google. And there's a couple of videos I put up public. It's just a collection of vignettes from the two marches, from the Great Peace March of 1986 and the Climate March of 2014. And
All
I'm in one.
right.
I'm in a couple of them. I was pretty much camera shy, but I did get in on a couple of them. So I'll share those and link those. I'm also up
Yeah.
on Facebook every day. People are welcome to join me. It's John Jorgensen, and that's my real
Right.
name.
I'll have to put some links in there. I think
Yeah.
it's been a really nice conversation, and we really needed that.
Oh,
Regardless
yeah,
of the long game, we have a short game when we wake up every morning, like you and I were saying,
yeah,
and
yeah,
we have so many inspirational people in these movements that not everyone is like the bad human species. Yeah, we know what we've done. We know how humans do what they do. But there's
yeah,
so many
yeah.
beautiful people like yourself, like our followers that are out
There we go.
there. Yeah, there we go. And we're going to learn
Yeah.
more about permaculture as we go because I'm interested in it. Although I get overwhelmed at some of this stuff, I get overwhelmed at my own garden. But it happens, right? Do you have a garden?
Yeah, yeah,
Someday we've
it's
got to
coming
see
along
it.
too. So it's
Yeah.
yeah, I'm expanding on it. I want to grow it to the point where we're feeding the revolution.
Yeah, there you go.
Grow to
Well,
excess, get that food forest going. It's
awesome.
challenging out here. I got a challenging environment being in the Mojave in the high desert.
Wow.
Whatever I can learn from it, I'm taking my notes and then passing those on to in the coursework.
Beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yep,
Now,
yep.
Chris Foster from the
Thanks.
UK, he said, look at the changes throughout history. We've moved on from serfdom and feudalism. We can now theoretically at least make societal changes. The fight goes on, but we still have achieved some victories. And I think that is a really great way to end this beautiful little show. And I'll play that little video for the end, and everybody can just and yes, hit like and subscribe if you haven't, and all that, housekeeping stuff.
Ding that
And
bell, you guys,
eventually,
ding that
guys,
bell.
you too
Get
can
those.
have an environmental coffee house coffee mug or a t-shirt. I used to just get them made and send them to my friends. I never charged anybody, but I got to keep the internet going. So we'll see what happens
Yeah,
with the merch. It might be fun because people might want to have an environmental coffee house coffee
I do.
mug.
I do
Okay.
now. I do
All
now.
right. Well, there you go. All right, everybody. Thank you so
Goodbye,
much,
everybody.
John.
Thank you, guys. Oh,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome.
Stay
Thank you
on
so much.
until the video's done so we can have a little quick chat afterwards, guys. And I'll see you on Saturday night with Jennifer Hines. And I'm sure we're going to have a pretty good show. And I absolutely will have John back. This was really cool. And I think there's just so much more we can get into. So peace,
Okay.
everyone. Peace out. We do this in peace, or the unity sign, which somebody said to me once, the unity thing
I,
is different. Oh,
I
you're
like
doing
this one.
that. Wait a Oh, my hands don't want to do it.
Just need the
All
pointy
right, guys.
ears.
Yeah, that's all right. You don't need the pointy ears. All right, guys. Farewell for the day.